Hi, what new possibilities will you create? Today's guests will share their story and provide insight. From my network to yours, let's get to it.
Yeah, so my name is Rena Daoud. I'm the executive director of After School All Stars Puget Sound, and a platform for them to have a voice and to build their skills and their competencies. And that's something that I think not a lot of middle school kids have, something like that. Donate to social justice causes, and I should have said that. So there are so many different organizations that are fighting for social justice right now. There's also the memorial funds on GoFundMe of all of the recent victims from police brutality. So please look those up. Please support those families, and then support those causes that are making a huge difference in this fight for social justice. There are so many worthy and amazing, phenomenal organizations that are doing very difficult work.
Please
right
don't
now.
forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Consider that too.
Tell me who you are, man. Who are you, man?
Who am I?
Who are you?
What's interesting is so usually I'll start with what I do versus who I am, right?
Bingo.
Yeah, I am Damian Frivera, husband to Adonis, who is my high school sweetheart, father to my kids, Damian Jr. and my daughter Ilanis. We got a dog, Droopy, that we brought over from Puerto Rico. Grew up Spanish Harlem, a little bit of time in El Paso, Texas, and now what I do for a living is I'm the CEO for ALPFA. So super blessed to be able to be in that role. Before I started doing the ALPFA stuff for 21 years, I was with Accenture. So I was a partner managing director there at Accenture, mostly in utilities practice, did a little bit of chemicals work, a little bit of energy work, but mostly utilities. Everything from I started off as a coder, but everything from strategy work all the way through operations. So infrastructure, application outsourcing, systems implementation, digital transformation stuff. So a little bit of everything there. So it's good.
So you embody like the whole program and stuff about pivoting and making transitions and how you learn, going from corporate world to nonprofit world to just the dynamic shift, seeing your previous employer now the corporate sponsor. Talk to me how those transitions for you, man. I've done it, so I'm living that same life. But I'll tell you about that.
Yeah,
some of your thoughts.
So it's interesting. The transitions. I think everything kind of. I'm a big believer that kind of God puts me in position to be able to do what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
And it's up to. He positions me, but it's up to me to do something, right?
Correct.
And so, a few years before stepping into this role, I had done this thing in New York. They have it called a Coro Fellowship, and the focus of that fellowship is taking corporate people, putting them with business, putting them with a nonprofit and with government. And when you take those three pieces together, how do you solve for society's problems, leveraging those three pieces? So it gave me, as a corporate person in that framework, an opportunity to get access and have conversations with people in the nonprofit world, people in the government world, to be able to understand what the value was from each of those pieces and how to put them together to create, to solve some significant problems. So it's well to be able to step into this type of role.
Dude, I selfishly want to know more, and I say why, because you think about it, when I first created the idea, I talked to Jamie, and we're talking about, hey, through these moments of uncertainty, you got to shift and you create possibilities, right? And she had really did a good job kind of breaking down from an artist mindset, taking an idea from her third eye, and then how she paints the canvas. And you literally broke it down just now, like how literally being trained to understand how you take these challenges or goals and make it real. I think that's huge for people to understand, because people now, it's been 3 months, people have ideas. In some cases still haven't done anything, right? Because their mind is blocking them. Or they may, and you take the current situation, you got COVID-19, now you got the realization, it's always been there, but the realization of social injustice and seeing someone get, and be like, hey, how do I lean into my anti-racist? How do I do more. And the guy mentioned to me the other day, he said, hey, I want to ride my bicycle, but I got to learn how to pedal. I got to learn how to ride. I can't just jump on the bike and start pedaling. So where's my training was, how do I get started? And so to your point, it is an element of knowing how to start. So any thoughts you can share or insights you can share that will help folks kind of go from idea to constant proof to actually
I mean, one piece there, I mean, to your point, right? So action is, you have to take action. You have to take action, right? Step into traffic, do something. I always talk about it's not sufficient to learn, right? One of the things that we talk about within the ALPFA, we have the wealth creation pillar, and we consciously did not call it financial literacy. We called it wealth creation because the concept behind it is financial literacy, you're learning, but are you taking action? If you're not taking action, it's not going to translate to wealth. And people talk about the spending power that diverse communities have, right? Within the Latino community, talk about 2.7 trillion in spending power. That's fantastic. But that's spending power. That's not wealth. You can't create that wealth if you don't take those actions. And you have to feel comfortable being uncomfortable with taking that step, right? Mm-hmm. And so you know, I think different people have to, I think people have to understand the natural tendency is not for people to move forward to take new actions. Just like inertia doesn't just carry you in that direction. You have to do something deliberate to force yourself to go into that space that's going to be due. But do little things and figure out what is it that those little things you can do to start slowly moving you in the direction of taking your idea, making it fruition. Right? Because
you're spot on, spot on. And I'll give some examples, especially around social justice stuff that's happening. You know, a lot of folks were asking me, thank God it's calming down a little bit now. But in the beginning, I was getting everyone was getting called and asked for advice and perspective, and people want to read books, and highly encourage those activities, right? But the challenge, that is an action, taking action to learn, right? First step, to your point, right? Okay. But then to a lot of people, they think that's enough. Okay, I feel like I get it. Yeah, what you read in a book versus what you live in life can be very much different. Actually, pretty much different. And I tell people, unless you go sit on a panel when everyone does not look like you and you're the only one, it's just this jitters you get in your body. You can't even explain that present. I said, until you experience that moment and you see it, I said, then you realize, oh, wow, okay, I get it now. Oh, yeah, you felt it. You didn't read about it. You felt it. Because read about it, you won't understand that jitters, that this experience. When you actually live through it, you feel it, and then you can connect. So to your point, that comes with jumping out there, taking that step. You know, I opened my own business. I took a step. Was it scary? Heck, it was scary. But I took the first step. I learned. So yeah, I'm glad you shared that, because like folks now is what actions can I take to make sure? And you're gonna fall on your face, right? It'll happen. Then what? You get back up.
Yeah, and that to me, it translates over to I think a lot of people tend to not ask for the help they need to ask for. And recently, I kind of come to this conclusion in my head anyway. Not asking for help is the intersection of fake it till you make it and imposter syndrome. And hear me out about what I mean by that.
Yes, right? Go ahead.
So the fake it till, a lot of people think fake it till you make it means pretend you know what you don't know. And they walk around acting like they need to pretend they know things. I think of fake it till you make it as be confident that you belong in the room. You belong in the room. And so it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask questions, and you're expected to ask questions. And you tie in imposter syndrome into that, where you're going to feel where you feel that, you know, someone's going to find me out that I don't belong here. Then it's one more thing that prevents you from asking for the help that you need to ask for to be able to take those steps forward. Because you don't know how easy it can be to go ahead and build that business until you had a conversation with somebody about what it is that you're thinking about doing and are able to move it forward, right? And so I talk to a lot of people about just try to, you know, it's that confidence piece that you need to have in knowing that you belong, knowing that your journey, your life, what you've been through, the highs and the lows of what you've been through as an individual is what makes you credible and should give you the confidence to be able to go into any room, whether you are a student, going into a boardroom with a CEO, that CEO doesn't have your experiences. And so there's going to be value you can add if you are willing to take the chance, go ahead and add that value and ask a question or make a statement in that room. And so we need to be able to ask for help so that we can take the steps we need to take so that our journey that's gotten us to the point of where we are right now can continue to progress us forward, right? So that's gotta be able to ask for that help along the way.
Dude, you're so spot on. And people have that when you are vulnerable or that's a strength. But when you're authentic about where you show up and how you show up, people lock into that. You're authentic, you live in your truth, people will jump in your support immediately. When you make connections up front. And I always tell people the first 90 days or any day, I'll use my first 90 days in the new role as my say, hey, I'm brand new in this role. I still need it on board. But here's my thought and perspective, right? Now, you don't have to verbalize that, but sometimes to help people to kind of process, to say, hey, I'm leaning in. I'm letting you know I don't know this space. I'm brand new. I'm still on board. But I'm going to ask this question anyway, because that question you're asking is a very question that hasn't been asked in a long time, most likely. And they'll say, thank you for asking that question. We didn't think about that, right? Oh, good point. And things that seem like common sense to you is a blind spot for someone else. And to your point, unless you are comfortable and confident in yourself, you miss those opportunities to add value at that table.
Yeah, and that's what I think. It's interesting, right? It was funny. So one thing I didn't give in my intro is I went back to school to get my MBA 20 years after I had graduated undergrad. I didn't need it for work, but I knew I needed it for me. I didn't exactly know why I needed it for me, but I knew I needed it for me. And when I graduated, it was interesting. I remember after my last class coming home and telling Udonis, I was like, I feel like I could do anything. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, I literally feel like I could do anything. And what happened was, for whatever reason, good or bad, that experience in getting my advanced degree gave me that additional piece of confidence to feel comfortable saying, I can go into any room and be me, right? I still have imposter syndrome stuff that creeps up every now and then, and it still happens.
No doubt.
Right? You would think that before I had that degree, I was a partner, managing director at a Fortune 500 company, one of the top 2% of people in the entire company, right? Why did I still need something else to give me confidence to say I belong? I don't know, right? But I did. And so, what I tell folks is find what you need in order to feel that confidence. Get your people around you to help you with that. Because once you find that confidence lever, you feel unstoppable. Because you feel comfortable asking, man, I feel comfortable asking people, I'll ask somebody, what the definition of is, and they're like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, I know exactly what I mean by that, but what do you mean by it? So very comfortable for, just feeling that confidence. And now my journey has been unlocked. So now I can use my journey of being that kid from Harlem, of going to public school in the city in the 80s, of bringing that to life so I can truly make my diversity count in the room. And so it's, I'm just kind of, so I think it's important that people understand, how do you unlock that confidence for yourself, and know that over time, there's going to be different points where your confidence may wane, and that's where your crew around you is going to be able to help you get through some of those times.
Spot on, because one thing I would say, I had some folks in the show a few weeks ago, and I'm also a product of the Landmark Forum, and really unlocking. You mentioned yourself, understand your mind is what it is, right? And also understand your mind is always talking. And if you understand that your mind is a big block, right? It's nothing physically stopping you. Even right now, there's nothing physically stopping you, right? But we ourselves will stop it. I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. And as long as you understand that voice in our head, we understand that's not us. It's just our thoughts running rapidly on past experience to try to protect yourself. You understand that's all it is, as opposed to just lean in and you create new information, new data It allows you to propel yourself. I remember when you see it too when you get your degree and you move into a new circle of people. It's just that you open your mind to a new circle, and what happens, you attract that new circle. They were always there. You just didn't see them.
Right. Absolutely. That's right. That's
They
absolutely right.
They didn't show up. They were there the whole time. But when you actually attract that, when you are now awoke to that vision, you attract that energy, that talent. It allows you to change your next chapter. Yeah. Hey, come on, this question popped up. Let me see this. What's this here?
Hey, later.
Okay. There you go. How did you pivot in this crisis? Ooh, good question.
So I'll say as an individual and as an organization how we did it. But as an individual, what I started thinking, I started to evaluate what did I think was going to be most needed over the next X number of months. And then based on that, try to get my mindset around one, knowing that eventually things will be okay, so I could try to be focused in on what I needed to do in the moment to provide the assistance that I could provide, whether it's to family, friends, etc. So I didn't personally have to pivot a ton in terms of, from a work location perspective or tactical things like that. It was more the mindset of how am I helping in a different way given where I am. And then from a business perspective, from a nonprofit ALPFA, very quickly it went to what are we going to need the most based on the experiences of the past, right? So for example, very quickly, we knew this was going to be similar to a 2001 and a 2008 from a jobs perspective for our members, from a community impact, right? The whole concept of when people started saying, when CNN started reporting, we're seeing disproportionate impact on diverse communities. It was no kidding. We knew that was going to happen day one. And so we knew we had to shift what we were doing to be able to provide services that could help our members in the best way. So what's one example of that? We knew that folks were starting to lose their internships. And so getting the call from someone there, quickly flipping over and creating a fellowship program that allowed us to, right now we have a total of, so we have 50 students that are going through the formal fellowship program as part of ALPFA with our corporate partners. And then an additional 75 that are going through a certification program.
That's cool.
At the end of the whole thing, they're getting some money, but more importantly, they're getting an experience and connections into the companies that should help them get those jobs next year. And so, just trying to be able to figure out where do we need to get to. The other thing we did was we were blessed to be in a position where we didn't have to let anybody go. Financially, we were in a good spot where we could also invest in technology to make sure we were putting things in place to be able to reach more members. And so shifted almost around the same time when you started doing this. It was funny. So when you started doing your show over here, we started, it was soon after that, we started doing the ALPFA Live show. We were originally going to do a podcast. And then we said, no, people aren't listening to podcasts right now. They need to see people. And so this played a little bit into my thinking also with the whole live thing. So
that's good.
So we started creating that whole ALPFA Live to start just being able to be a connection point to celebrate some of the good things also. So there was the tactical things of shifting. And then strategically, we're not even halfway done pivoting, right? There's a lot of change that we're doing, technology that we're implementing to make sure we are in a good place, because it's going to be a while before everything goes back to, normal, goes to whatever the new normal is supposed to be. So what I was saying is, to your point around the, learning those highs and those lows, love telling people, like, draw out your journey line. If you've never done it, draw out your personal journey line, right? And map out those highs and lows. And when you do that, you look back and you realize how much you've been through. You realize how your values have come to life in those highs and lows. And that translates to you being able to have that confidence piece and knowing you can get through anything. Because when you look back at your journey, you realize you've been through everything, and you know you can get through what the next thing is. And so, you know, I highly encourage people to do that. Draw out your journey line, understand what it is that you've gone through, map it to your personal values, and then make sure you understand that that's what it means to be authentic in the office. That's what it means to be your authentic self. Map into those values, staying with those values.
You said a key thing, because think about it. It could be implied for us, we know, but for some people it could be implied. When you look back on your journey, you have to be honest with yourself too, and be authentic in those moments, because a lot of us are afraid of looking bad, right? Again, back to the mind again, right? Afraid of looking bad. It won't look good. They'll hide and cover off and be shameful of things. But what happens is when you do that, you lie to yourself. You're not being authentic with yourself. There's lacks integrity, and then you don't heal. And if you don't heal and learn from what happens, you are doomed to repeat the same damn thing over and over and over again. And when I start to realize that, because we know as an adult, like, oh my God, like I'm repeating a pattern here because I haven't been truthful to myself, not alone someone else, about this area. And then once you are truthful and you lean in and understand, then you heal and grow from it, and then you literally jump. It's no longer a blind spot. You jump. We said, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is what I appreciate about what you're doing here with these sessions. To me, huge gift. You're giving other folks the opportunity to hear the lessons from other people, so that they can potentially, what I told you, you'll trip over your own hurdles. Don't trip over the same ones that I tripped over. Right? Like
correct.
Learn from like fly over those, and then trip over something else, as a way down the road. And I think it's a huge opportunity. I talk to people about the fact that so growing up, we weren't super poor, right? We lived in the projects, yes. I joke about it. Didn't own a pair of jeans until I was a senior in high school. The first time I ever wore jeans to school was because my buddy let me have jeans to wear to school.
Really?
Yeah. And then my brother was at school before me, and he was like, when I got there, he was like, did Paul lend you those jeans? I'm like, no, these are my jeans. It's like, don't call me out in front of everybody else that I don't have jeans because you're not wearing jeans right now. So but we had enough. But remember, my dad, when there was one point where I could choose between a project that was super risky and another one that was super safe, and the super risky one though could make me partner, and the other one maybe in a couple of years. And in talking to him, he was like, what's the worst that could happen? I was like, if I go there, the worst that could actually happen is I get fired, because if we don't get this deal, I'm going to be the one that couldn't make that deal happen, and we're going to get kicked from that client. He's like, okay, so what's the worst that could happen there? What worst that could happen is, I don't know, I lose my job. Okay, so again, what's the worst happen? I don't know, lose our apartment? Okay, so what are you, homeless? He's like, okay, you know what? We have a little bit of land in North Carolina. We don't have anything on that land. We could chop down the trees and we could put up a tent, and we can live there if we need to. We've lived in worse, right?
Real tough.
Had I truly lived in worse? No. Had he lived in worse? Back in Puerto Rico, yeah, he did. But what he did was he took his journey in knowing that, man, that ain't nothing. That's actually a good life. And gave me power to take a risk. And that risk, paid off, because I ended up making partner on that project, all that sort of good stuff, right? So, when you hear other people's journey, you're giving them a little bit of your superpower, and they're adding the mix of their journey to create something new for themselves. And so I think it's a huge, what you're doing here and helping people share their journeys is contributing to that knowledge being shared and creating more superpowers in the diverse community. So thank you again for that.
I appreciate that. No, it's huge, because we're in this journey together, right? I love life. I love humans. And what inspired me is that I'm sitting home in my couch. And typically it's just me. Now I'm blessed. I got two loved ones nearby. was just me. And I'm someone, you know me, I'm always out and about, running around, full of distractions, life is living, right? And then this shutdown happened, and I had a moment of panic, like, what I'm going to do? What I'm going to do? I love my mentoring, I love connecting with people. And they're like, oh, I can do it. I can scale. I can have a platform like this here. And it kind of morphed into bigger. But I said, but that was my outlet. You know, does it replace me having face-to-face with people? No. But does it still feed the energy that I can give back? Yes. Right? Yeah. And so to your point, it's amazing how our thought stops us. And like your story to share there, there was nothing stopping you, to your point.
Right.
What's the worst can happen? What's the worst can happen? And all reason you were given just reasons. They weren't nothing.
Right.
It was just reasons.
Exactly.
They're nothing.
Exactly.
They literally nothing. They're just reasons.
Yeah. And then, when somebody sort of like makes you realize the reasons you're giving, no, like keep going. And then it's like, okay, I can do it.
I'm gonna make the assumption, but you can help confirm it that you find gratitude in your sacred space and family. But how do you find gratitude? Every possible opportunity, how you do it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if
even now, right?
Lucky, but it's I've always been someone that sees the opportunity, the good side of everything, and you know, and not to get super religious, right?
Dive in.
I go to when my aunt passed away. A bunch of us were kind of sitting there talking, and everybody was just kind of, right? Like, she passed away of cancer, and everybody's kind of like, you know, like, you go to the why, and the preacher, and I don't remember the exact words he used, but it was along the lines of, God's promise isn't that everything's going to be perfect.
Correct.
But if you allow him to, he will show you the way. And like something, just it's that constant reminder of, right, just, you know, be open to what it is that's there that you're supposed to gain from this thing, whatever it is. And so be grateful for what you have. I think a lot of it goes to knowing what it's like to not have a ton, and being grateful for the fact that we have what we have. The other part too is, frankly, it's setting traps for yourself. I think there's actually a study that talks about how as people grow in their positions in a company, especially like, so when you get you know, Fortune 500 CEOs, things like that, the empathy level actually,
yes,
right? And so you actually become, you know, a professor I took, he was like, you know, you become brain dead. The more successful you become, your empathy actually goes down. And so you can't consciously realize when you're not being the way you should be, not being empathetic or not being grateful for things. And so I always talk about, you know, what traps do you set for yourself to allow you to make sure you are consistently reminding yourself, from an empathy standpoint, from a grateful standpoint. And so you have to set those things up in different ways, whether it's based on having the people around you that can keep you in check, or just, you know, little things that you put in place to, you know, just be those constant reminders that, you know, there's you know, not to be sort of self-centered, not to, you know, but to really look at things the right way, in that positive way, and be appreciative of what life has to offer, knowing that, yes, things are difficult. That doesn't mean that things aren't difficult. That doesn't mean that there are some very serious, hard pieces out there. At the same time, with those hard pieces out there, if you don't allow yourself to bring all that you have to bear, then society may lose a great opportunity to advance because you didn't bring yourself in the correct way. Yeah. So, yeah, that was maybe a long-winded way. I get long-winded.
No, that was perfect.
Thought
I would add. You tell me I would add to that as well. At least it was awakening for me, the power of love too. When people love you, they'll hold back and tell you and keep you honest too, right? Because we can't, like you mentioned earlier, asking for help. I also say too, you can't do this alone. And the power of love is sometimes people want to dismiss it because they're hurt. They've been hurt. They were got married. I've been divorced, so I understand that life. You know, but it's powerful. Even myself, I forgot how powerful love is, and when it re-enters your world and keep you honest, it really propels you to greatness. And so, to your point, everything you share and having that love component. So when I saw your wall, I saw love all over the place. Love. You know what I mean? And they'll say, "Daddy" or "Husband," what? You know, and keep you honest, right? And so that helps make sure that you are leaning in, you are being empathetic, you are listening, you are staying present. How important is to send to the ladder back down?
So ridiculously important, right? I mean, that is,
I love it, Clyde.
In my view, so I'll say this, when I talk to people about from an alpha perspective, what is it that alpha is trying to do? Increase knowledge, network, so you can take action and give to the next generation, right? And so you have to consistently do that in order to see, in order to have progression actually take hold. And I think it's important that people remember there's always time to do that. I think there's what I've seen happen a lot in the corporate side is people, students go from a student being a professional, and when you make that jump, you find the time to still give back because you remember how hard it was. It was you last year, and so you want to be able to give back. But then a couple of years into it, you start getting to that point where it's like, I just need to be heads down because I need to get to that next level of executive or whatever. And there's a gap that occurs there. And then people come back, sort of 5 to 10 years down the road and give back then. And when I say you gotta find the time to give back consistently throughout. You have to. And you will get as much out of it as you are giving into it too. That when you're going through that and giving back to that next generation, you're gonna get even more out of that. Frankly. I know I totally agree so much in like I definitely get more out of what I'm giving out just from the energy of students that I engage. It's people ask me, how do you have so much energy all the time? It's because they're giving me the energy to keep running with stuff, right? But you want to keep doing that. So yeah, that's just kind of the top of mind for me.
Yeah, I would say too, to add to that is a really good book called The Giver. Real quick, small read, Go Giver. And it talks about that a lot, the importance of giving and what you're doing, giving back. And I love, like, me, I'm also passionate and connected on the board for NABA. And lifting as we climb is our model. And I embrace that as a personal model. And for me, I share in previous chats, is where I'm lifting behind. I'm trying to propel you up, right? It's how do I help my youth or my team get to where I'm at better, more effectively, more efficiently, right? And go above, right? That's the only way we're going to get to where we need to get to. I don't want it to be based on how far I go. I want to be based on how far we go, right? And then if you can get there and pull me up too, great. And I get there, I pull someone up. It's that kind of chain is how I see and envision our success.
Yeah, that legacy piece, right? I mean, it's
no doubt.
There's a what I tell folks is, God willing, I live a long time. I have great grandkids, all that sort of good stuff, right? I want to be able to tell them stories about, you see where we are as a group, right? Black and brown folks, you see where we are. I had a little piece in helping that, right? I had a little piece in helping that way back then. Let me tell you about the types of things we did to help each other out. You see so-and-so that is leading what, I gave that student advice when he was a freshman in college, and now he's president of the United States, something like I want to be able, and so maybe that's selfish too, and wanting to be able to tell my great grandkids.
That's motivation, man. Motivation.
But you know what? That's okay. Exactly. That's okay.
I always tell people when because people look at ego as a negative thing. I say no, ego exists. It's how it's well placed, right? So hey, yeah, I want to feel good. Feeling good is not a bad thing. It's a good energy. You leverage it appropriately and lean into it. It's okay. Ego itself is not bad. You acknowledge it shows up. It's always present. It's always there. You just acknowledge and say, "This is my ego." Yes, hell yeah, say here. How do you support a community in a time when you cannot have community? Wow.
So so it's a great question. I would flip that a bit and ask the question: how do you not have community right now? I think there's you can always create community, and so physically not being able to get together. I think now more than ever you have an opportunity to be able to create something, leveraging the technology.
And where I go to is at times when people feel that there isn't community, you have more of an opportunity to bring people together to help them find and bond together and do something with it, right? This is an example of that right here. I've talked to folks about, you know what? And any age can do it, right? You could have a kid that is 12 years old reaching out to other folks in the neighborhood and saying to them, hey, we're going to do a Zoom call for your kids that are 5 years old, and I'm going to read to them, so that you're creating that bridge with them, right? So there's, I think, you gotta, maybe it ties back to the whole journey thing, understand the value that you have based on your journey and figure out what's the best way for me to be able to add something here that the community can use to energize them, empower them going forward based on what's unique to me and what I can give as an individual. I love this question.
How are you connecting and staying engaged? Both personally and as well, with Alpha too. How are you staying connected?
Yeah, so it's actually I'll talk about how staying connected, but then also some of the issues with being so connected, right? There's a problem with that too. So social, I am super active on Instagram with our student chapters, our professional chapters, individuals, just checking in and connecting with people. Even from a standpoint of just shooting out some emails saying, hey, just checking in on you. We're having town halls. Initially we were having them every week, and then we went to every other week, and then we went to once, now it's at once a month, because it got to the point where everybody was like, okay, we're good. That's enough communication, so let's slow down the communication. So just making sure people are knowing that we're accessible, all that sort of stuff, and just reaching out to folks, checking on how they are. But one of the problems is trying to make sure that you're so accessible and that you want to help, because everybody wants to make sure everybody's helping each other right now, right? I feel very close to everybody. Last week, I think it was last week, my wife took away my phone from me. It was like, nope. Like, you're not using your phone after
Told you that's love right there. See, love showed up. There you go.
Because 2 days in a row, I had 2 egg whites for breakfast. I went until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was like, did I eat today? 2 days in a row, right? The second day, I felt like I was going to pass out, and that's when I realized I didn't eat today. And it's not healthy. It's not healthy. And so there's no boundary right now as to when do you stop, right? When do you stop?
There's no stop. You're right.
There is no stop. And then doing the types of things that you've got your day job, and you've got your NABA stuff, and you've got all this, like, you're doing a ton. For myself with Alpha, I don't feel that there's a stop, right?
No stop, man.
And you don't want there to be a stop, because you're like, it's too important. What we're doing right now is too important within the community. And at the same time, we could be hurting ourselves physically by doing that. And so we have to find that.
You are locking in. Good. Keep going. You're right. Spot on.
So, and I don't have an answer to that. I don't have, but it's a, it's something that we have to make sure we're being careful of, that we don't hurt ourselves in the process of trying to make sure that we are staying so connected, because we need to take time to mentally repair ourselves, right? You need to have that sleep at night. One of the things that I actually started doing was going for runs on a daily basis. I get my best ideas when I go for my runs. And when I don't go for a run, I don't feel as sharp. And so it's little things like that that then allow me to sleep a little bit better at night. And so just making sure you're taking care of yourself physically so that you can stay connected to people. And yeah, just sort of what's in my head right now, which is what we think about.
I'd love to get from you some tips you do to force you to take that pause, because it's not. I honestly believe it's not like you saw that day you ate 2 egg whites in the course of the full day. So it's not natural for you not to stop. You have to be. You have to be intentional. What are you doing to help make sure that you break up that monotony?
Yeah. So I and obviously it doesn't always work because
same.
It didn't work.
We're human.
But so it literally in my calendar, I block off and I put an hour and a half from 12 to 1:30. Hour and a half every day. And my thought behind it is take about 45 minutes or so to eat, and then 45 minutes or so to kind of get myself reset from emails, things like that, get myself back into the groove of what's happening there, and then kind of go from there. So that's one piece there. The other part is, and it's interesting. I did this recently with my runs. I started recording my ideas when I would go on my runs, and it was almost a little bit of a test for me to see, am I coming up with really good ideas? At least I think they're good ideas while I'm running, and am I able to come up with good ideas when I don't?
Yes.
And it's not at the same. I feel like I come up with. It's hard to explain, but I feel like that run is almost like a vitamin where I feel like I'm extra creative during that time. So I have to now consciously decide, am I going to forego that innovation that, if I don't go for that run today, I am potentially foregoing an opportunity or an idea. Is it worth it for me to forego that opportunity or idea?
Love it.
What it is yet.
I love it.
And forcing myself to think about that. Because that then is like, what if on that run I'm going to come up with the next whatever it is, right? Or come up with something that's going to be really impactful. That becomes a real motivating factor to run. It's not the physical part of, okay, I'm doing it to keep in shape anymore. That's not why I run anymore. It's literally to try to come up with more ideas. And so I shifted kind of how I'm looking at it a little bit also.
Oh my gosh, so spot on. I love like you got to comment. It's right. You assess the trade-offs by not doing so, and to your point, that keeps you accountable because you're right. Because you look at it in that way, then you're like, okay, what am I doing? For me, I love in the house that I have this like pull-up bar, and I purposely leave it up intentionally just to see it, because when I see it, then I'm like, daggone, I can't ignore it. I'm conscious of it, right? So then I'm like, okay, let me go do a quick 15, a quick 10. And normally what happens, I do a quick 10, a quick 15. Now I'm committed. So, to get real results, I got to do 3 sets. So, right? So then I'll stay and do 2 more sets. But that first 15 is always the hardest, to go get up and do it, right? Yeah. And so to your point, it's like, how do I ensure and force visual reminders?
Yep.
I have a little alert right now, remind my calendar saying love connection, how important it is to stay connected with love. Important to sleep, which I'm still learning that part.
I had to laugh in the background. I was like,
yeah, I'm still listen, man, I catch my sleep like that. I know I was bad to say that, but I'll be unauthentic if I didn't tell you what I was reading. I ain't tell perfect. I'm just saying we learned it. But to your point, you got to, man. That's huge, man. So I'm glad you shared that. And then I was telling this at my job, and I don't have it solved yet. Some love for folks that are joining. They have perspective too that can share. In the office, we used to have space where you can take time to pause and prayer, there's a physical space to take a pause. We don't have that currently, and I'm seeing some people do things like right now. One of the organizations within Amazon, Black Employee Network, one of the affinity groups, what they're doing, they actually have yoga time. They block an hour on Fridays, and it'll say yoga time. And the other one I saw from the women's group had meditation time. And I think it's a good idea. So where they put calendar alerts on your calendar, and you can just check in on it, and then meditate for an hour. And you can prioritize it because we all live by our calendar and block that time and that confirmation and attend to it. So I tell people, and I'm definitely one of them, is we tend to neglect ourselves first. We put everyone else in front of us. And so we shortchange our own health because we think no one can see it. The reality is everyone can see it. You wearing
that's right.
You're checking yourself out, but we think no one can see it, and we shortchange ourselves. And you're carrying your energy, you're carrying how you show up, you're carrying your attitude, you're carrying everything, but you think no one can see it. No, you're walking around exhausted, pissed at the world. We know that. We can see it. You come back from an energized run, you're excited, you're motivated, and you got ideas. We can see that too. So you're actually doing people a disservice by not taking care of yourself.
Yep, absolutely. So earlier today, I was on a call, and Idanis was like, you sounded low energy. You sounded low energy to me.
See?
I was like, yeah, you know what? I was like, which one? She was like, the one that you were talking about this and this. I'm like, okay, yep.
Who was that? Who did that? Who's that?
That was my wife was telling me. Yeah.
And what's that again? What's that called again?
What? Wait, what's that?
What's it called again?
Love. The love. Absolutely.
Told you can't live like without love, man. It shows up every time.
Yeah. She was like, yeah, you're, and to your point, you don't necessarily recognize it in yourself.
Yeah.
But it could be seen, and for those that love you, it's very visible that obvious. Yeah. And we just gotta be authentic in the moment. What did you say? We need to stop looking at self-care as a activity. You're right. It's so true because we put ourselves off. But, oh yeah, I'm good. I work out tomorrow. Okay, yes, you need to work out tomorrow and today. Something you said earlier I mentioned about being present and the importance of following through. When you hear this, what does that mean to you about being present and following through? What does that mean for you? Yeah, so I go to my dad used to say, still does. If you're gonna be there, right? If you're gonna be there. Don't. The other thing he would say, but don't half-ass things. If you're gonna be there, do what you're supposed to do there. And so sometimes it means getting yourself in the right mental state in order to be able to bring it. Something that some folks, my daughter always jokes with me about this. Whenever I go and do talks, I got to get myself psyched up. Right? I get myself psyched up. And so my natural state is super shy. Like my natural state is actually kind of like,
what? You shy?
Dude, I asked Idanis out in high school by throwing a letter at her. I literally had a letter and I threw it at her. As I ran by, didn't stop, just threw a letter at her and kept running. And then she said no, right? And that's and then she was like, nope. So that's my natural state is like not to. And dude, I was a senior in high school, co-captain of the football team, captain of the baseball team. So you would have thought like I would have like a bunch of confidence to walk up to a girl and ask her out. No, right? So that's my natural state. So I had to get myself kind of psyched to just be me out there. So in terms of what does it mean to be present? Kind of to me, it's find whatever it is that can help you trigger that. I'm going to be here. I'm going to get it done. For me, one of the big things that my daughter jokes about with me is so the Hamilton CD. I listen to the Hamilton soundtrack, and Right Hand Man, that specific song, like I get myself going. My daughter knows, no lie. if when we're getting, so normally she, like if we're going to an event together, she'll play the music that she wants to have going on. But as we get close to it, she'll turn off her music and she'll put on the Hamilton Right Hand Man, because she knows I need that in order to get
Oh, that's what's that word I said earlier? What's that word?
Love, yep, love, yep,
love right there. Wow, you got all around you, man. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And
people always think that someone made a comment too, right, about public speaking, and I do a lot of speaking. You know, so you see me, and I'm the same way. You have to get into the zone and you shake through the same human instincts of nervousness, and I'm like, remember my lines, what I'm going to say. We all go. The only difference is we just jump and keep going. We don't stay at the side of the pool and look at it. We actually jump in. But don't mean we didn't have the same jitters that you had. We just lean into it. So I'm an extrovert, but does not mean. Yeah,
I get
I'm an extrovert, but does not mean I'm okay with speaking in 2 seconds flat.
Right. Yep. I get all kinds of nervous. I get all kinds of this, but it's, okay. So how do you hone that in a way and get your trigger? What I tell you also is like scent is a really good trigger too. So if you get used to like something that you like or whatever, doing something that you like, and then have a scent that you have that's associated with that good feeling, and then have that scent when you're about to do it right before a public talk or something like that. When you smell that, it'll actually calm you down. It'll make you feel energized based on what you're doing, and then you can kind of go with it there too. And then the other
what scent is that? I want that.
Kind of how do you really? No. So it's anything you want it to, whatever you. So you set that trigger in your head. So it could be oranges.
Yeah.
Oranges, but you it's almost like it's a trigger that you create for yourself. The other piece too, in terms of bringing your best self, or like bringing it is like a lot of people, when you get nervous, they try to calm themselves down, and it's hard to go from so nervousness is a high energy state. It's hard to go from a high energy state to a low energy state. So if you try to calm yourself down, it's super hard to do that versus figuring something out that you can psych yourself into being excited about. So it's a high energy, nervousness, high energy, negative state to a high energy, positive state. Then you can really, again, bring yourself to whatever it is that you're trying to do there.
I like that. I like how you said that I do, and didn't know I was doing that. So like last year, I had kicked off the NABA conference, big platform, like hundreds of people. And I'm like, and I was nervous. All the founders were there, and I'm in the back.
You're talking about in Las Vegas this past year.
Yeah,
I was there. I was in the audience watching you.
Yeah, so so I'm in the back, right? I'm in the back, and we just here go. And when I go, I saw it said, "What is your legacy?" Right? And I read it. What is your legacy? And I literally shifted my mind to that statement and said, it was like I could read the presentation in the back. So I read it, I said, what is my legacy? What am I going to leave behind for these folks here tonight? And then literally it just shifted my nerve right back, like aggressively. I learned how to channel it, and then I was like, okay, I'm ready. And went right out. Like literally went out, and boom, I was on the stage. But I shifted in that moment. It felt refreshing, because when I went out on the stage, my intentions were, what am I going to leave behind to make sure that folks have a wonderful experience? The legacy that's actually present on the panel is here, the founders, and we'll be shaping the organization the next 50 years. So now I'm being even more intentional. Thank you, man. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So question for you, too. One more, maybe two questions, maybe. One is, I keep to my promise and my integrity. I don't want to keep you long. I kept you another half an hour already. So what do you want to share with this audience before you go? That's number one. And then I had a selfish one that a lot of folks do ask questions around, as far as what's some current things you're reading, recommendations. Like it could be about anything, about what's happening in the current world, about what we talked about tonight. Yeah. People like to hear that kind of stuff. So what's some things you wanted to share with this audience here tonight that we didn't cover?
So just last, leave no doubt. Right. What I mean by that, whatever it is that you leave no doubt in this world that you made an impact. Right. And leave no doubt to yourself. Right.
Yes.
people in the world will judge how people in the world want to judge. For yourself, leave no doubt. The people that love you will know that you gave it your all. If you personally know that you are leaving no doubt in what you did, so, right? So leave no doubt. That's it.
Yeah, it's true.
It ties in.
Yeah, I love it. You live that life. You live that because you have shown and pivot and made transitions. You had an idea, you created, you went for it. You went to school, you've done it. And a lot of folks won't make those transitions. They think the decision they made at 18 years old, they got to live with for the rest of their life. Or 21 years old in college. You like, nope, I did this. I made those goals with my partner. I decided I want to run the Alpha. You've done it. You live it. And I agree. Leave no doubt, because those same doubts will be surfacing in your mind when you're in your last days. I wish I did this. No. I agree. Yeah. And okay, the last thing. What about books? Anything?
So two things. So I one of the things that I do is 2 books kind of at a time, and what I mean by that is I listen to an Audible, and I also read a book. And Audible I do it because I don't read very fast. I do what they call subvocalization, which means as I read, I'm actually reading it to myself in my head. So I can only read as fast as I can talk. But I can listen to a book on Audible at twice the speed. So I could listen faster than I could read. So right now, actually, I have it next to me over here. I did not know that you were going to ask that, but the book I'm reading right now is The Most Important Thing Illuminated. It's a finance book. It's about value investing, that sort of thing. So I think
you finance geek. See, you were both finance nerds. That's good.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good.
Good.
And what I'm listening to right now is the new Jim Crow.
Ooh, yeah.
That deep. If highly recommend everyone take a read or listen to that. There's a new foreword that the author put in. Sort of just some additional pieces there, but especially if people are asking or saying, you know what, how do I learn more about what's happening over here? Yeah, read this book.
I love it. That's a very good one.
Growing up, right? I grew up in Harlem, grew up in diverse communities. There are things that I also couldn't necessarily put a finger on. This is why it's this way. That the book helped me with being able to help explain. Here's what's going on there. Yeah, and so it's just excellent. So I'm about halfway through that.
That's the audio one, the new Jim Crow.
That's the audio. Yeah, the new Jim Crow.
I'm gonna cop that from you. I'm gonna have to do that.
So good.
I'm the same way about listening faster, and then same way. That's how I process too. Man, pleasure. I'm gonna have it ask you too later. But on the NAVA Alpha Love connection, I build my finance committee, so maybe that's an opportunity, some synergy there. Any recommendations on the committee? I'll listen to your recommendations. Yeah, we got some common friends. But thank you, man. Pleasure. I appreciate you. Thank you for spending the night with me.
This was cool.
This was
cool. I never forgot my first ever live.
Yeah, see? I actually did that for live. Hello, this is Mr. Rose. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to come back every week for new podcast content. Special thanks to my daughter and her team and all their hard work putting this content together. Be engaged. Be aware. Be ready. Be heard. Thank you.